my dear Cancer friends. I'm so happy to welcome you for this July-August guidance. Just a quick reminder, this reading is for you whether you're Cancer sun, rising, or moon. Let's start with a quick overview. When it comes to major arcana, you've got death in the position of what your soul is most longing for, so there's a strong intermission happening here. Something needs to come to an end to allow real transformation. To support you in this process, you have Temperance, a card of rebalancing. Temperance also shows up again as support in overcoming your main challenge this summer, which is represented by the Tower. The Tower signals a potential sudden event or the collapse of something previously established. You also have the Fool in your emotional life, which clearly points to a new beginning. So with both Death and the Fool, we're looking at the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. And at the end of August, you have the beautiful card of the Pope. This already feels like a very powerful reading. Let's begin with what your soul most wants for you over these 2 months. I've chosen to focus my readings around the soul, because when we make decisions, take action, and live from the level of our soul, and not from our ego or small self, we naturally find alignment. And when you're aligned with your soul, life becomes so much more beautiful, so much easier, and so much more abundant, in every sense of the word. But it's not always easy to know what our soul really wants, especially when our fears are in the way. That's why I choose to reveal this in each of my readings. So, what your soul is most longing for at this point in your life is represented by the Three of Pentacles and Death. Death clearly shows us that a cycle needs to end, that a chapter must close. It always invites a deep transformation so we can release what no longer aligns with who we've become. And the structure or situation that no longer aligns with you is symbolized here by the Three of Pentacles. Look at the image. 3 people collaborating on a project in progress. It speaks of teamwork, of a system where everyone plays a role and contributes. But in this context, because death is also present, it seems your soul wants you to step away from a dynamic where you may have been compromising too much for others, to the detriment of your own soul mission. Have you been giving a lot in a shared project, in a relationship, a family, a team? I don't know. You'll adapt this to your own life, of course. And as always, I'd love it if you leave me a little comment below. But one way or another, this cycle is coming to an end. Now look at the Death card in this Celtic Tarot, which I'm using here for the very first time. I'll add the names of both decks in the description, as usual. See this woman with fiery red hair? She seems to be screaming in rage or power, riding this immense dark bird, soaring above impaled heads. We're talking here about detachment with no turning back, a radical break from the past, but one that allows you to fly towards something new. Your soul clearly wants you to break free from an old role, an old contract, maybe even an old loyalty. It wants you to take flight. It's time to end a cycle of collaboration or a partnership that no longer nourishes you. And yes, this may feel like a difficult letting go, but one that is deeply regenerative. Now, let's look at what the universe is sending you to help close this chapter. And you've got the Temperance and the Five of Cups. Temperance is truly an invitation to find moderation. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending they're not there. It's about finding emotional balance, staying centered without getting pulled in every direction. And that's incredibly precious during times of transition, like the one you're going through now. Things may feel stirred up inside, but Temperance comes in to say, you can remain calm in the eye of the storm. You have that wisdom within you. You have the ability to bring peace and harmony to what feels out of balance. And look at this Five of Cups. It's a beautiful image in this Celtic Tarot deck. You see a man alone in nature, looking back at what he's experienced. Those 5 cups symbolizing his past emotions. But he's not collapsing. He's not rejecting those cups. He's simply turning toward them one last time, as if to say goodbye to something that once meant a lot to him, that once nourished him, but no longer does. It's a deeply symbolic card here. It's about taking one last look at your past, without drama, without regret, just an honest recognition that the chapter has ended, and now it's time to move forward. It's very powerful. Let's move on to your main challenge for July and August. And here you have the Tower and the Ten of Cups. With the Tower, we immediately feel that we're not talking about a minor adjustment. This could be something truly surprising, maybe even shaking. The Tower speaks of an event, a sudden shift, or a realization that comes from the outside, something you can't control. The Tower comes to shake the very foundation of something you believed was solid, something you may have carefully built over time. And this message is confirmed by the Ten of Cups, the card of emotional fulfillment, happiness, family, mature love, because we're at the number 10. But since this card appears here in the position of challenge, it likely means that this sense of happiness or emotional stability is being called into question. Something that once held deep meaning may now need to shift, even if it's not what you want in this moment. I don't know if this will involve an important relationship, a family dynamic, or even a partnership, as we saw earlier with the Three of Pentacles, but it's clearly something you've been very attached to. And of course, changes like this are rarely comfortable. But as we already saw with the Death card, this is a necessary and unavoidable transition. Yes, it might feel rough at the time, even though, of course, the intensity of the Tower will differ for each of you. But in truth, this is your soul realigning. You are ready for something else, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Now let's look at what will help you move through this challenge. And here you've got the Four of Swords and Temperance again. The Four of Swords is crystal clear. You need rest. This isn't just some minor fatigue. No, there's a real need to pull back and pause, especially mentally, since we're in the realm of swords. And that's completely understandable. When a major upheaval like the Tower happens, the mind can go into overdrive, looping thoughts, trying to understand, control, anticipate, and that's exhausting. This card invites you to pause your mind, whether that means taking a few days off, getting away, or simply doing something that pulls you out of mental rumination. Give yourself permission to step back. In this context, I strongly recommend the book by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. If you've never read it, or if it's been a while, this might be the perfect time to discover or rediscover, because this book brings you exactly where your soul needs you to be, right here, right now. It teaches you how to step out of your mind and not stay stuck in the past or worried about the future. And that's exactly what your soul is asking of you at this moment. I'll leave the link in the description to the audiobook version, which I personally find much more alive and inspiring. And right next to this Four of Swords, we see Temperance again for the second time, which tells us that this is probably your guiding thread. As we saw, this card speaks of moderation, gentleness, and alignment. It completely counterbalances the very explosive energy of the Tower. It's here to say, even if everything is changing around you, you can remain centered inside. Even when things are shifting externally, you can find deep inner peace. And in this Celtic tarot deck, Temperance is filled with light. We see her grounded in nature, radiating softness, and this is exactly the kind of energy you're being invited to embody. For some of you, reconnecting with nature may be what helps calm your mind, maybe even being near water, as we see in the illustration. Let's continue now with the hidden gift behind this major challenge. Because when the universe sends us a challenge or a trial, there is always a blessing hiding behind it. Always. The issue is we just don't see it at the time. And that's why I choose to reveal this gift in every one of my readings, to help you recognize the blessing that will come in a few weeks or months once the storm has passed. And your gift, following the challenge of the Tower and the Ten of Cups, is represented by the Ten of Wands and the Ace of Cups. This is a very powerful combination because it speaks of a true passage, an important transition. The Ten of Wands clearly shows someone carrying a massive burden, something you've likely been shouldering for a long time. It could be responsibilities, emotional weight, patterns, or relationships that kept getting heavier over time. And as a gift, this card says that all of that is going to end. This emotional load is coming to a close. Even if you carried it out of love or loyalty, it's no longer right for you. Now look at the Ace of Cups, this beautiful gift from the universe, just like all aces. This cup overflowing with pure water represents emotion, love, compassion, and most importantly, a reconnection with yourself. The ace always marks a beginning, a promise. And since we're in this suit of cups, this is clearly a deep emotional renewal. It's as if once you're no longer carrying this heavy burden, you'll reconnect with your heart, with your capacity to feel and to love. Yes, the challenge may be real, but what it will free up is even greater. This opens the door to the possibility of new love, whether that's love for yourself, for life, for someone new, or for a whole new way of living. So many different situations could bring about this blossoming of the heart, but one thing is certain, it will be something that's far more aligned with the person you've become. Now let's look at how your emotional life is shaping up during these 2 months with all these changes. And you've got the Nine of Pentacles and the Fool. This is a really interesting pairing in this context. The Nine of Pentacles is a card of stability. We're near the end of a cycle with the number 10 coming next. But it's also a card of independence, as it often is with the number 9 in tarot. Look at this elegant woman who's built her life through discipline, symbolized here by the falcon. She doesn't need relationships or external structures to feel whole. I believe this card suggests that emotionally you're reaching a sense of autonomy, and maybe even a kind of relief after a period of emotional turmoil. And that's completely consistent with what we've seen so far. You're stepping out of a cycle, maybe leaving behind a partnership or a deep emotional bond, and this Nine of Pentacles shows that you'll be able to center yourself and rebuild within a much more peaceful environment. And the Fool adds even more to that message. Look at this little character, totally carefree, curious, open to the unknown, bringing a fresh, new energy. In your emotional life, it suggests a heart that's opening again, a new beginning. But because the Fool carries the number 0, it hasn't yet begun a full cycle, even though the previous one has just ended. It means you're not necessarily jumping into a brand new relationship or major emotional commitment. The Fool prefers to explore, to feel, to follow the moment. So this is an ideal period to experience your emotions freely, without pressure, without expectations, with the lightness of the Fool. Now let's look at your career and financial life, and you've got the Nine of Wands and the 10 of Swords. Right away, what stands out is the sequence, a 9 followed by a 10. It's clear that a cycle is coming to an end in your professional life, in your work, or maybe in a partnership, as we saw earlier with the 3 of Pentacles. The 9 of Wands is the card of inner struggle, perseverance. You see this figure, standing, tired, wounded, but still holding on. You've probably given a lot. Maybe you've held on in a job, a project, or a financial situation that's taken a lot of energy. But here we see clearly that you're reaching the end of that phase, and the 10 of Swords confirms it. In this Celtic tarot deck, the image is powerful. A man kneeling in the snow, surrounded by 10 swords that have pierced him. He's clearly been through a massive ordeal, but since we're at the number 10, this tells us that the ordeal is either ending or about to end. I don't know exactly what you're going through right now, but one thing is clear. This is the end of a mental cycle, and of course, an emotional one too, because whatever is ending here has likely been weighing on you for a long time. But now is not the time to push through. If you feel drained, like you're holding on only out of duty or fear of letting go, these 2 cards are telling you, stop. This isn't failure, it's liberation. Something is no longer serving you and needs to be released. And the good news is, after the 10, there's always a new beginning. But for that to happen, you first have to accept turning the page. So, my dear Cancer friends, we're clearly dealing with something deep and powerful over these 2 months. Now let's take a look at where you'll be by the end of August. You've got the Pope and the Page of Cups, 2 beautiful cards to close this period, with confidence and gentleness. The Pope is, of course, a card of faith. Faith in what we can't see, in the invisible, in life, and in the future. But it also represents wisdom and the rediscovery of an inner structure. After a period of upheaval, whether professional, emotional, or relational, the Pope shows that you're going to find your alignment again. It might be a return to a deeper faith, or a personal commitment, or a connection with someone you trust who offers guidance. In any case, it represents a framework that aligns with your values, because this is a card of spiritual grounding. And despite the challenges, you'll come out of this time stronger, and most importantly, rooted in something that truly feels right for you. And next to it, you have the wonderful Page of Cups. Look at him, full of innocence, even a little playfulness. This card speaks of sensitivity, emotional openness, and also emotional renewal, because pages are all about new beginnings. It's a sign that you'll once again be able to love, to give, to receive, and to build a connection, whether with someone else, with yourself, or simply with life itself. This end of August shows a peaceful closure, one that's full of hope. You're moving forward with a deeper understanding of life, of yourself, with renewed faith, and above all, with the ability to reconnect to beautiful emotions. Now, before we close with the final message from the Oracle, let's look at the precious advice from your guides for navigating these 2 months with as much serenity as possible. And you've received the beautiful Queen of Cups. This queen is deeply compassionate. To me, she can represent 2 things. First, she may be someone in your life, a woman or feminine energy, someone who knows how to listen, support, and remain emotionally grounded. A person who doesn't dramatize, who is calm and stable. If there's someone like that around you, don't hesitate to lean on them during this time. But this Queen of Cups can also represent you. And in that case, it's a very clear message from your guides. Stay centered, stay calm. This is not about denying your emotions, quite the opposite. The Queen of Cups welcomes them all. But she doesn't let herself get overwhelmed. She doesn't live in emotional highs and lows. She remains grounded, present, and that's exactly the kind of energy your guides are encouraging you to embody in July and August. Maybe you'll be able to reconnect with this inner peace through meditation, through uplifting reading, or listening. And once again, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle could be a perfect companion during this period because it helps you return to what really matters, to step out of the mind and reconnect with the deep peace that lives within you. You know, just like the sea, even when it's rough on the surface, deep down, there's always stillness. And it's that stillness that this audiobook can help you reconnect with. And we finish with the message from the Intuition Oracle, which is in French, but I'll translate it for you. This one is from the Blessing series, Fluidity. A complex situation unblocks and triggers essential changes you've been waiting for. These changes bring you the fresh energy of success you've been hoping for. What a beautiful message to close this reading. It confirms everything we've seen. Yes, you are going through a time of transition, maybe even a major upheaval, but these changes are not here to punish you. They're here to free you from what had naturally run its course. Have faith in what lies ahead. And remember, you are guided, supported, and more than anything, you're ready for what's next. So my dear Cancer friends, what a powerful reading this was. Make sure to also check out your rising and moon signs for a more personal message. And don't forget to take a look at the links in the description. They might really support you through this emotionally intense period. I'm sending you all my love, wishing you 2 beautiful months ahead, and I'll see you again on August 28th for your next guidance. Until then, take good care of yourself.